Hey guys, welcome back to What Were She?
Hey y'all, another week.
Another episode. Welcome back. As always, my name's Uzo.
And my name's Diweni.
Thinking about what's happening in the world, bro. The Tell Me Lies finale. That's what everyone's talking about. I think I've made like 20 TikToks about it. Like, cause people are just making me so mad.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, bro. I thought the ending was good.
I thought it was like, I'm okay with it. Like, it was, they said it was ending. They said it was the last episode. I was okay with that. It's like, I think people just always want more. More.
I agree.
No, we can't have more.
We can't always have more.
We can't always have
And
more.
I thought the ending of it was good. Like, at the end of the day, this is not, I think people want it to be this chill original movie. You're like the bad guy, you know?
Yeah.
He got but in real life, if we look around, people like Steven get away with
They
it.
get away with it.
The best way, if you encounter Steven, the best thing you can do is just leave. Just leave him alone. Yeah.
Just run. Just stay away.
Because they're always going to find a way to come out on top. It's like President Snow. Snow lands on top. They're going to, no matter what they have to shake, no matter who they have to destroy, no matter who they have to use to get to the top, they're going to do it to get to the top. People are like, bro, they get into Yale, but he still pulled up in a G-Wagon, so what? Yeah, because he went to another law school.
He figures something. Yeah, like, and I feel like that's very evident throughout the seasons. Like, he always came out on top.
Talking about, yeah, and they always have people around them who are willing to enable that.
That was his biggest thing, was like, no consequences if there's no one to tell on you. Like, yeah, it was crazy to me. I was like, oh wow, like he really got God.
Facts.
You know? But he figured it out because he pulled up in a G-Wagon. So.
And you know what? I'm glad it was Wrigley, because Steven did kill his brother.
Yeah, I love Wrigley. I really liked his character.
He made his way.
He made his way. He really came out like a strong character in the end.
Facts.
Yeah. Oh, from the.
Because it's crazy, because people don't care about what Bree did.
Yeah.
But they dumped it on Pippa. Like, I don't like that. I really don't. I'm sorry. Like, I just really feel like, especially seeing the actual fan reaction like on TikTok and everything, it's like, you guys are willing to show so much grace and compassion to Lucy and Bree.
I don't understand much Lucy compassion. I look at like, I don't understand, like, you've talked about the book and like how it's different and da-da-da-da.
Well, I have compassion for her. That doesn't mean that I support her and her decisions. But people,
I barely have compassion
like,
for Lucy. I'm like, get off my dance.
the thing about Lucy is, like, the only person who I think is a bad person on the show is Steven.
Yeah.
Even Evan, I'm like, okay, he does the bad thing, but I don't think he's at his core
Yeah,
a
bad
person.
Yeah, like trying to do
Yeah.
a bad thing.
Yeah.
That's true.
So, like, with Lucy, it's like, I don't think she's so evil, wicked, or she makes horrible decisions and she doesn't learn from them, which is my thing about her. She makes terrible decisions and she doesn't learn from them. But people this season, especially the back half of this season, have refused to see the fact that Lucy does not have to be this perfect victim for you to still feel compassion for her. And people are trying to turn her into this perfect victim. She didn't deserve anything to happen. She didn't deserve to get expelled. She didn't deserve all. Yes, she did. That's okay. We can still have compassion for her. We can still think, okay, like, how are we gonna duck the world? She's not this awful person who deserves to die. Like,
Yeah.
but she needed
She needed to.
Yeah.
She
needed to
like I
learn.
said, she was not learning from no mistakes.
wasn't learning from no mistake.
No situation.
None.
What happened is what happened, and I feel like that was a natural consequence.
Facts.
The things that transpired.
She didn't even destroy the tape when she got it back.
Like, what was that about?
That's what she about to do again. She literally, like, she didn't even destroy the tape when she got it back. That's when I knew that there was something messed up with her cycle. Like, it's deeper than we thought.
Oh,
I'm glad she got expelled. That probably saved her life. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
She would have died there at that school if they hadn't expelled her.
I agree.
I got so many comments saying that Pippa should have. Oh, the fact that Pippa let Lucy take the fall for that lie. What could you have done? At the end of the day, even if Pippa came out and said the truth about what actually happened, what Chris actually did to her, that does not take away from the fact that Lucy lied about being raped.
Yeah, and also, I don't recall people ever asking her to do that.
She lied.
So the part that I'm like, bro, Lucy, she did this.
She did this to herself.
She just hired her alone, so I know what she was trying.
She was trying to do.
But girl, like, you know what I mean? Like, she hit the bait, got exposed.
Got exposed.
That's just how it is.
I'm sorry, people saying, oh, the fact that the tape even exists is because of her unwillingness to own up to her mistakes and learn from her mistakes. She should have just told Bree.
Yeah.
She should have just, and the fact that people are so willing to like twist this into Lucy being selfish. She didn't tell Bree because she didn't want her own reputation to be damaged.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why. So people try to say, oh, Lucy made all these mistakes, but she did it with her friend's best interest at heart. That's not true.
That's not true at all.
She did it with her own best interest at heart. Like, the only reason why the tape exists is because Lucy was unwilling to tell the truth to Bree.
Yeah.
She should have woken up after she slept with Bree's boyfriend.
Yeah.
Said, damn, Bree, I looked up and just ate it.
Consequences, like all right, like you did what you did when you decided that the best case scenario would be
Be
to
alive
lie
for a year.
to have Steven out of all people have this tape over.
Yeah.
Or,
So she's not well.
alright.
And it's okay that she's not well. I don't really care too much that she's not well. But this rewriting of history to make it seem like she's well
Yeah.
is not okay with me. Do you not remember that Lucy wrote that letter about Wrigley's brother?
Oh, yeah.
And let him know about Wrigley was believed for us. People from the months.
Yeah.
Did we forget about the fact that Lucy covered up the murder of her roommate?
Yo.
So please, like,
Yeah.
we don't have to revise history
We
to
don't.
just say, like, Lucy, dang, like, I was here for her.
Yeah.
I can see that she has a good heart. I can see that she's trying to do better, but that she actually started doing better.
Yeah. I think that's totally fair.
But the way that fans are willing to do this for Lucy
and not.
and not for Pippa is what's blowing my mind. It's so racist to me. I think it's just racist. It's racism. to
Yeah,
me.
people are like obsessed with Lucy.
Yeah, they're obsessed with Lucy and they're obsessed with Wrigley. So it's like they're trying to say, oh, I can't forgive Pippa because of what she did to Wrigley, all this stuff. Guys, if Wrigley forgives her,
I'm about to say, Wrigley don't even care.
Wrigley don't even care.
She was gay. He said, oh, perfect.
like they don't love you. Like he doesn't even care.
No, them saying that they were best friends, yeah, that's true.
They were best
Nothing
friends.
changed.
Exactly.
Nothing changed.
They still love each other.
Yeah.
Wrigley is willing to forgive Pippa wholeheartedly. Didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
You guys feel this more than Wrigley is.
Yeah.
I think that the great thing that you want to be with Wrigley and you're not sure. It's the Joey King effect.
Yeah.
Seeing it again, you know what I mean? Like when people are just hating on someone
Yeah.
because you don't like the way they look and you wish that you were them.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, like I don't like that. I don't like that behavior at all. Like the willingness of people. Literally, I was saying things that said a bunch of stuff saying Pippa was the worst character of the whole show.
wow.
Bree's the one who released the tape, mind you.
Whoa.
Bree's the one who found out that Lucy and her boyfriend had cheated with one another, took back the boyfriend, and ruined the friend's life. That's so crazy to me.
Yeah.
People are so willing to find grace for everybody except for Pippa in this situation. It's just because they don't like the way that she looks, in my opinion.
Yeah. I would assume that's true.
Yeah.
She's just so cute. She's such
Yeah.
a little cute.
Love it.
Yeah, she's cute. Look at her haircut. I'm
love
so
her.
mad about her hair.
She looks adorable.
So great with
Yes.
that haircut. Like I've never seen a haircut just
Oh.
fit someone's features. She's just like
So adorable.
Like
She looks like a cupcake.
she literally looks like a Polly Punch.
Yeah, she's
She's
perfect.
literally perfect.
Oh,
So I feel like it all sometimes like damn that her
Face, her little cheeks, like she's adorable.
Yeah, no, she like that like literally just one of her characters be cool, but like I'm just like she's just so cute.
So
like
cute.
you know what I mean? I don't know. Yeah, but then whenever Marianne and
Yeah, they eat her up.
I was like I wouldn't even know what to do in that situation. Yo.
Yeah.
She didn't say anything. Like what are you doing? And homegirl, other homegirl was like, what are you talking about? Like, no, breathe.
No, they got me too, though. That's what the creator said. And I made it talk about that before she even said it. And I was just like, Oliver may think everything's cool right now. Because it's 2015, come 2017, bro, he's about to be Me Too into an extent that the world had never seen before. They think he's not surviving Me Too. That's what Megan Oppenheimer said. I believe it too. He's not surviving Me Too.
No, he's not. But I don't know. I really love the series. That was like a very, very enjoyable watch. And I'm sad it's over, but like, okay.
At least we can rewatch. At least it had a complete bow. And
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like we know what happens to everyone.
Steven leaving her at that gas station though took me the fuck out.
It was cute.
She came up
Funny.
to coffee.
They always try to say, oh, Lucy was doing what Diana did, tricking him into thinking that he had. Are you stupid? What has her playing this girl? What has she ever done to make you think that she's trickery? She literally came out in 2 coffee cups.
Yeah,
No, she wasn't
trying to trick anybody.
Yeah, she
Why did they probably had sex at that wedding? Like,
at the day before.
yeah, like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, She left the game. Was there. She would have hopped on right and they would have been on their jolly way.
At the end of the day, she loves the street. She doesn't want any better.
No, she doesn't. She loves it.
What's that saying? I love the couple I live with my family right now.
What?
You ever seen that?
No.
They were interviewing this guy on Maury. They were like pressuring him, like getting on him about like how he's like addicted to coke, all this stuff. And the kids were like, bro, like, please, like, we want you back. Please, like, we want you back, like, da-da-da. And they're like, what are you going to say? I love the couple I live with my family right now. And I was like, whoa. Like, you know, like the sound.
Yeah, I love Maury. Yeah. And then the audience just goes,
Oh. Sorry.
That literally encapsulates Lucy.
Yeah. Why did I lose that tape? I'm sorry, that's actually messed up. That's life ruining.
Yeah? I think she was just in a...
You go Google Lucy Albright and go see that tape forever. She did?
I mean...
Oh, she changed her name?
I think it was just one of those things that like dating like your best friend
Lied to you in your face. Oh my gosh, dude. And the way people said, oh, how dare Pippa judge Lucy in that when Lucy told Pippa that she had chili weapons. Are you? I literally like, I was like, you guys are insane. And that's how I know you guys are insane. And like, it's something that's illogical, like racism. That is why you guys cannot see what you're saying right now. This is how I know that this is about racism. Because the fact that you are willing to twist these situations, you know that there is a difference between one of your friends going through a breakup and then telling you, yeah, I cheated on my boyfriend with some random person.
Yeah.
And I came clean and had da-da-da, but it's something that I'm really struggling with guilt about because I did cheat on my boyfriend. I'd be like, damn, like, that's awful. Like, fuck. Like, but, you know, you can get through this, like, and your friend telling you your best friend telling you that she cheated with your other best friend's boyfriend a year ago and had been lying and going to everything and keeping that secret.
Like, I'm not on your boyfriend's laptop because he saw a picture.
Like, you guys want to act like these things are the same?
Not even close.
They're not even close to the same.
So in that case, like, Brie releasing that tape, like, should she have done it? No, but I get why she did it. Like, I don't know what Brian's like, bro, like, she's in a fit of rage. Like, she's in a bit of crazy. I get it. She really sent Lucy into, like, a crazy state. I get it. But she should have destroyed that.
She should have destroyed that tape. The second that she came to her and said, yeah, Stephen made it to me that was so bad, like, but he gave it back to me, I'm gonna destroy it as soon as I can. The second that she said that, I knew, like,
that shit on fire. Yeah, my baby. But then you can't have that there when you have this looming situation. You cheated with your best friend's boyfriend.
She should have destroyed the tape.
She should have just destroyed it, but I mean, people are acting like, oh, Brie, like, how could she? Someone sleeps with your boyfriend, I guess you could.
A year ago in life is hanging out with you, picking your toenails, like everything's sweet. No,
I guess you could. Because then you just look like Boo Boo the Fool.
We should get to the episode. We shouldn't. Okay, so this week the episode is about natural rights and kind of rights as a concept. I've been feeling very interested in this. My philosophy club was talking about this on Saturday, and I was like doing research to think about what I was gonna say and like think about when I go to my club. And the idea started coming up, and like I feel like so many people talk about this is a right, like we have a right to this, but like what does that actually mean? Like where does it come from? Where does it derive? So we're gonna get into this. So long before we had a United States, most of our moral thinking comes from Europe, and one of the earliest examples is the Magna Carta, which was a royal charter of rights sealed by King John of England in 1215. And it was drafted by an archbishop to make peace between the unpopular king and a group of rebel barons who demanded that the king confirm the Charter of Liberty that promised protection of church rights, protection for the barons for legal imprisonment, access to swift and impartial justice, and limitations on the feudal payments to the crown. It was often read as like an early due process statement, so it said that no man is to be arrested except by the lawful judgment of his peers or by the law of the land. And basically said that no person, including the king, is above the law, which is not human rights in a modern sense, but it was still checkpoints in a political struggle over sovereignty, parliament, and overall the legal process, and it helped normalize, kind of shape this thought that the government can be and should be judged by the legality of what it does to its people. So by the 18th century, Enlightenment era arguments, conversations about social contract arguments laid the foundation for our modern thinking. So they started to frame political legitimacy in universal terms, what rational, free, and equal persons could consent to, and what governments could insist to do. So I found this really great overview from Stanford about John Locke, John Locke was born in 1632, and he was like a very influential political philosopher of the modern period. He defended the claim that men are by nature free and equal against claims that God had made all people naturally subject to a monarch, and he argued that people have rights, such as the right to life, liberty, and property, and these things have a foundation independent of the laws of any particular society. He also claimed that men are naturally free and equal as a part of the justification for understanding legitimate political government. So, legitimate political government as the result of a social contract where the people of the state conditionally transfer some of their rights to the government in order to ensure the stable, comfortable enjoyment of their lives, liberty, and property. Does this sound familiar? It kind of does, because some historians kind of think that John Locke should be an honorary founding father of America because we kind of like stole the recipe to his mom's speech cobbler and just changed property to pursue happiness. But the Declaration of Independence puts this claim and says that Americans, not even just Americans, but people, man, are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. And the first thing that I think is really important to highlight is the concept that our rights are endowed by our Creator, which very explicitly states that our rights are not given to us by our government, but they're given to us from an external source. And we were born with these specific rights. They weren't something that we have to do anything to earn, which I think is really important. And second, the Declaration of Independence says among these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I think the word among is really important because it implies that this is these are not all our rights. It's not a non-exhaustive list. So even inside the Declaration of Independence, the unalienable rights are not limited to just these three. And I think it's interesting how this rhetoric collided immediately with the social reality of the founding fathers' reality in their actual life they were living in. The founding generation's rights language was so powerful because later movements used it against exclusion. But the founding settlement itself, the founding ideas, did not make these rights real for enslaved people, for free Black people, for Indigenous people, for women. And I think it's just kind of funny to me how they said all men are created equal with these rights and then literally handed the paper to their slave to go deliver it. You know what I mean? So it's so funny to me how this was literally instantly from the moment it was penned, it was already wrong and not happening. So as we all know, there's a clear separation between rights as philosophy and rights as enforceable law. So the Declaration of Independence was philosophical in a political justification for the separation from England and the reason why they were having their revolution, but it's not legally binding, which I thought was I never really considered that. The Declaration of Independence is not it's not legally binding. They were just saying we declare our independence, it's not in the Bill of Rights. It's not nothing like that.
It's just a paper.
Yeah. So, by contrast, right, the Constitution is binding law, it is authority, but its authority is grounded not in a creator, but in the people. So, the first 10 amendments of the Bill of Rights, they don't talk about where our rights come from. They largely take the form of constraints, where it's Congress shall make no laws, this right shall not be violated, shall not be deprived, even so on and so forth. So, the second point is who protects our rights? How are our rights enshrined? So, early on, the Supreme Court held that the Bill of Rights restricted only the federal government, but not the states, which changed after the Civil War. With the 14th Amendment text forbids any state from depriving any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, and from denying equal protection, which they did not enforce after the Civil War. So in U.S. history, the most explosive and most prominent reason why we have disputes about rights are typically when we argue about who is a member, who is included in the people, who is a person, who is a citizen, so who can credibly claim constitutional protection. A very important court case is obviously Dred Scott versus Stanford in 1857, where the Supreme Court held that enslaved people were not citizens and could not expect any protection from the federal government or the courts, and also rejected Congress's ability to ban slavery in federal territories. So whatever they were saying about unalienable rights, the Dred Scott decision kind of forces Americans and Black Americans to confront the real gap between these universal ideals and a legal regime that denies protection to an entire class of human beings. Reconstruction really attempts to close that constitutional gap. So the 13th Amendment abolished slavery, and the 14th Amendment constitutionalized birthright citizenship, said that all persons born or naturalized are U.S. citizens, and imposed due process and equal protection duties onto the states. The 15th Amendment made it illegal to deny people the vote on account of race. But obviously, as we know, Reconstruction shows that there's a difference between creating a right and building the machinery and like the country actually enforcing that right for people. So there's a really great exhibit called Documented Rights, and that they took down, but they still have a website up with it in the National Archives. That,
Dang, why'd they take it down?
you know what? I went to the African American History Museum, like, a minute. I was crying like I've never cried before.
Yeah.
I was crying so bad. This nice lady gave me, like, her Kleenex tissue, like a little travel size tissue. She literally gave it to me. I tried to take tissue like this. I was crying so hard. She were coming up to me and rubbing my back.
Yeah, it's like a very crazy experience.
Yeah.
It's a very eye-opening, shocking to your core experience.
Yeah.
I love that museum though.
It's the best museum I've ever been to.
Beautifully done museum. Like it's
You know, Trump said it's a little too dark in that, like, why is it all about slavery? Like, why is it all about racism? They need to liven it up a little bit.
You what?
I'm about to be handcuffed to the front. Nah, they don't touch it in the museum. Oh my gosh.
It's such a great museum.
I went to the museum where, if you guys don't know, one of my friends who lives in DC, I went to go visit her, and we went to the African American History Museum together, and she's white. I was like, oh, I'm going to the African American History Museum today. She was like, oh, I'll come with you. I was like, oh, are you sure? And she was like, yeah, no. I've always wanted to go. Like, I've always heard great things about it. Like, I would love to go. Like, let's go. I'm not, okay, sure, let's go. So, if you don't know, when you go to the African American History Museum, it starts in the basement. Like, you start down low. So you get in an elevator, and the elevator is probably like the size of a room. Big elevator, and it's made out of glass, and you can see the elevator shaft has dates on it. So you start in present time, and as you go down the elevator, you're going down for a while because it takes you really deep inside of, like, the basement. You see all these dates passing that are like 1960 something, the Civil Rights Act, 18 something, the Emancipation Proclamation, all these dates, like the founding of America, and then it starts on the date like 16 something when the first boat touched down from the transatlantic slave trade. And as you go down, it gets darker and darker and darker. We get in that elevator, like, hey, so excited, what we about to go, like, when did we get in that elevator? She's like cracking jokes, like, she's like laughing. I'm looking at her like, stop. And she's like, what? I'm like, do you know what this is? Like, what do you think? What do you think? So she thought it was about to be about Beyonce and Jay-Z, and like, about like Louis Armstrong, like Black. Yes. Well, she thought it was about to be like baby girl, like just like prominent Black. Yep. She didn't know. We about to go shoot. Literally, 10, like, goddamn. I've never seen anyone so red. Like, she was. Everyone in the elevator was looking at me like, get your girl, like, get your friend. It's all black people. And they literally are looking at me like, when they're looking at me like this, and she's like telling me after, she's like, I'm all like looking at me crazy, but she's like, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so embarrassed. That was so embarrassing.
I was so dead. That's really not the museum to be doing that. It's a very heavy museum. Like, man, all of those museums, okay, whatever. But like, that's a heavy museum.
It's a heavy museum I've ever been to.
Same.
Like, it's, whoa. I was crying over my mac and cheese.
Because her doing baby. Like, oh my god.
The cafe has ribs. You know, sometimes they run out. I've heard that they run out sometimes. I heard the food in the cafeteria is real good.
Oh my gosh.
Really?
Dang.
So freaking funny. But if you're ever in DC and you have a chance to visit, it's literally kind of like you have to go.
Yeah.
The food, because after you've been crying your eyes out, right? Go down to that cafe. They have the best. And it's not even expensive.
No.
Oh my gosh, this is so good.
Yeah.
I went there for lunch, like, before I left. Like, I just popped in.
Like it's a regular.
Yeah. Like, when I tell you the food was so good. Because I had to walk through because once you get to the top floor, everything starts getting, like, better and better as you go up. And then, like, one of the last exhibits is about, like, Obama. And I was crying too hard I didn't even get to it, right? After. Yeah. Because we had to leave. After the Emmett Till exhibit, I was crying so hard we had to leave, right? Like, I literally was sitting down on the bench to catch my breath, like, elbows on my knees, hands clasped, like, I was crying.
That is just, that, like, Emmett Till, reading that, knowing what happened, that's, like, sickening stuff.
Yeah, it was sickening
stuff. Yeah.
It was too much. I had to go home.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a lot. It's very heavy. You really just opened your eyes, like, dang. Everyone needs to go and see it. I bet you if everyone had gone to see it, you know, get a little perspective.
Yeah. So another thing that, so like we can give, after that segue, another thing that was another important court case was Plessy v. Ferguson in 1896 that upheld state-mandated racial segregation under the separate but equal idea. And the Plessy decision illustrates a very recurring dynamic that rights are not self-interpreting, right? We can have an equal protection clause in the Constitution and still have a Supreme Court that's willing to treat state segregation as constitutionally permissible. So, like, just because we have a law that says something or a constitutional amendment that says something does not mean that the people on the Supreme Court are willing to, or like our legislators or our police or our president are willing to enforce said protection. So, the long civil rights struggle, you know, they had countless events and campaigns and fights, but the legal obvious pivot point was Brown v. Board of Education, which we hinted to at our title last week in 1954, where the Supreme Court held that state-imposed school segregation violated the 14th Amendment, its equal protection clause, and Brown really shows what it takes to convert a constitutional principle into lived reality, which was like what? Between these two decisions was in 1896 to 1954. Yeah. Implementation, political conflict, federal enforcement, and time. Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibited discrimination in public accommodations and made employment discrimination illegal, along with other provisions. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 targeted discriminatory voting practices, including literacy tests, and created tools for federal enforcement beyond case-by-case litigation. The right to vote had existed on paper through the 15th Amendment in 1800. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
But needed like legal enforcement from an act to overcome local mechanisms of suppression that functioned through intimidation, bureaucracy. Like, can you believe? And I think that that's like something that people forget a lot about Martin Luther King Jr. was like, it was not just about desegregation for him. Like, he was talking about the right to vote.
Yeah.
They couldn't vote in federal elections.
Yeah.
In 1960 something.
People be acting like it's so long ago.
Yeah.
Why y'all still this? Why y'all still that? Bro,
People are it should not vote.
could not vote.
Isn't that crazy?
And whatever you think about it, it's put in that way. It's so daunting because people will say like, y'all, like, we're still in early stages of all this. Like, there's still so much work to be done here. Sometimes you can be kind of like, whatever. Like, we chilling. No.
And like, but not vote. They had done it before black people got the right to vote.
Yeah. It's crazy.
That is crazy.
It's so crazy.
So, women's rights history is often told as like, oh, like they just pulled up and like got inclusion. But the women's rights history is really a story of how a legal system built around misogyny and like this household hierarchy with women at the bottom and like their man as like the cornerstone of the household conceded to the fact that women are independent right bearers and not dependents of their husband or their father. So under English common law, there's this concept called coverture, which considers marriage to be a legal merger where the husband represented the household in law. So I found some stuff in the Library of Congress that summarized coverture as this like doctrine where a married woman's legal identity was subsumed into her husband, limiting her ability to contract, will property, control assets, get credit cards in her own name, rent her own apartments in her own name. Like, yeah.
That's the crazy part, because I remember like learning about how like women could not like have a bank account,
Credit cards to like the 60s, 70s.
kind of that.
You couldn't have credit in your own name till like the 70s. Isn't that crazy?
That's why like whenever we talk about this like new age, like, you know, trad wife situation where they don't have no credit, they don't got no nothing, they just, you know, vibe and chilling. It gets me a little concerned, because then I think back to that time, I'm like, no credit. Like,
Y'all want to go back to that?
I don't know what to know, y'all.
So, the quote that I got from the Library of Congress was just like, the very being or legal existence of the woman was suspected during the marriage. Basically, like, your existence as a woman, your rights, your legal rights, all these things were literally like the second you got married, like, you were, oh hell yeah, you were Mrs. John Doe. Damn.
I know, people still do that too. Mr. and Mrs. Wyatt Stanford. Girls, my name Wyatt Stanford.
Send me all enough dress that I'm gonna shove it up your ass.
What? People literally have that, like, Mrs. Wyatt Stanford. Is that my name? I never understood that, but like, this is where it derives.
Yeah, have you seen like the Gilded Age writing period piece? No. They would literally introduce, I'm Mrs. George Russell. Like, the concept of taking your husband's name is not just taking his last name. You would dead ass take his
first name. You don't know the name no more.
That's why like
what?
Things where like there were big fires and stuff, like you can't even really find out like these people's names. Like I remember learning about this in women's and gender studies was like, because the women's names were like Mrs. George Russell on legal documents, something like that, you couldn't even find out a whole girl's name. And I think that there's this new age thing that women are doing nowadays where like in our mother's generation, your maiden name became your middle name. You put it on everything.
Yeah.
Women nowadays are not doing that.
Give a damn, bro.
No one's going to be able to find you.
Yeah. Like, your name that you adopted when you were 35, 40, that's not your name.
That's not your name. And it can be your name if you want to, but you need to still have your maiden name somewhere. So someone can find you.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at everyone our mother's generation, it says, like Jean Smith Summit.
Yeah.
And it's like, Smith, what's her name? So everyone could still find them on Facebook.
Yeah, that's Jean Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now it's just Jean Summit.
But these new age women don't understand why their mothers were doing that. You're gonna find out real soon when no one can find you, when you can't find anyone in like 20 years when people move away.
Yeah.
You'll have to be putting your maiden name as your middle name. People aren't doing that anymore.
I think that's just the way to do things.
It is the way, it's the proper way to do things,
Yeah.
but we're losing recipes.
Yeah.
Like, think about all like the people our age that you know that got married. I only know one of them who has her maiden name as her middle name.
I don't know.
It's fucked up.
I was thinking that wedding happened.
They changed that thing up.
Like,
Oh my gosh, it's so weird.
And I didn't realize all the work it took to change her name. Man,
It's
I was talking to like my lady that does my fitness classes. She got married like probably 7 months ago now, and I was like, oh, like a couple weeks, a month back. But I was like, you don't change your name? She said no. Oh, why? She's like, have you looked into what it takes to change all of your documents? Sorry.
No, it's crazy.
I didn't even. I searched it up and I was like, wait, this is wild. Like, I can't believe you were. I did not realize, because you think about it, it's every document
You've ever had.
every important document you have, your email. Bro, I was calling someone about their maiden name because they got married after I met them, after we started working. They were tripping out. Like, bro, that's what your email is. Like,
Sorry.
go off of like, they got to change your email. You got to change driver's license, passport. I don't even know. It's crazy.
Have you heard of the Save America Act? Like the Save Go Act that they want to pass? It's like passed in the House, but they want to pass it in the Senate. It would make it so that you needed to prove your citizenship when you vote. You need to have a document to prove your citizenship when you vote. So, like, for people who don't have a passport, that means your birth certificate, which would mean that married women whose name doesn't match their birth certificate would not be able to vote.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Most Americans don't have any document that proves their citizenship.
That doesn't surprise me because I can tell that by the amount of people I know who don't have anything.
If you don't have a passport, you have nothing that proves your citizenship.
Literally.
50% of Americans don't have a passport. The only thing that proves your citizenship is your birth certificate. I don't know where mine's at personally. My parents have it somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. And most people's names, most women's names who are married, their names don't match that. So You're not Jane Doe. You were born Jane Smith, so I don't know who Jane Doe is. I don't know if this is you.
Yeah. Can't vote. Sorry.
The sex tribute was maybe that could be anywhere.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. But back to the topic at hand. So the early women's rights arguments kind of did two things. They criticized a philosophical contradiction, which was that if rights are natural, then why are women excluded from having rights? And they criticized the legal architecture of like property, contract, and voting rules and family law. Vindication of the Rights of Women was written in 1792 by Mary Wollstonecraft, who was a British philosopher and women's rights advocate. It's considered to be feminist or a proto-feminist piece, like one of the pioneering works in feminist philosophy. Like, we didn't even have the word feminism yet, like she was so early, Miss Mary. But it really articulated the claim that women need to be treated as rational beings and moral agents, not as decorative dependents. In the United States, during the Seneca Falls Convention in 1848, they really discussed this at length too, and they had a declaration of sentiments. If you don't know what the Seneca Falls Convention was, it was like a convention of all the baddest hitters of the suffrage movement and like the women's rights movement, just all together in one place in New York. And they had this thing called the Declaration of Sentiments that they drafted that mirrored the Declaration of Independence, but they added all men and women are created equal, made sure they said that they are endowed by the Creator, and just kind of like tried to make the nation live up to its own grammar, its own words that it spoke during its founding. So one by one, they had Married Women Property Acts enacted state by state that chipped away at coercion by allowing women to own and manage their own property and wages. And the cornerstone was New York's 1848 Act for the more effective protection of the property of married women that is literally preserved and that like ensured the right to a married woman being able to own her own property. And even though these reforms were really incomplete, they kind of like chipped away at something until the 19th Amendment could be passed in 1920 that allowed women the right to vote. And, you know, once women were allowed the right to vote, I feel like that just changed everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as we all know, it was just white women who had the right to vote.
It was just white women.
And not even black men for real yet. And I think one of the last things we're going to talk about in this episode is reproductive rights and like the doctrine of privacy. So, story of like women's rights that we talk about now is like reproductive rights. Yeah. I think it is mainly because there are so many laws and like moral codes surrounding contraceptive, women's right to privacy. Even like enslaved women did not have the right to control when they got pregnant, who they got pregnant by. All these things were controlled by the people that owned them. So this kind of conversation really starts with Griswold versus Connecticut in 1965, which was a Supreme Court case where the Supreme Court held that the Constitution protects marital privacy against the state ban on contraceptive. So Connecticut banned contraceptive, and the reasoning was through the 14th Amendment on liberty. Then there was Roe v. Wade in 1973 that held that a woman's decision to terminate a pregnancy fell within the privacy protected by the 14th Amendment's due process clause, while also attempting a trimester framework that balanced states' interests and individual liberties. In 1992, there was Planned Parenthood versus Casey, which reaffirmed the constitutional abortion right. Then in 2022, unfortunately, we had Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization that reversed Roe v. Wade and the Casey case, holding that the Constitution does not confer a right to abortion and returning abortion regulation primarily to states and the political process.
I remember that day like it was yesterday.
Yeah, and what's important to talk about is that this really shows how judicially recognized constitutional rights can be narrowed or absolutely just like removed and eliminated by courts later on. And that just like the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the 13th Amendment, having an amendment in like the court saying something, we need acts. We need like, it's crazy that during Obama, like we had the House, we had the Senate, and we had the courts, and they didn't pass no law, no amendment, no anything, no act from the federal level.
Because they just think like we just discussed how that's not fact.
Yeah.
That's not, you know? And it's even like Roe v. Wade getting overturned. That was crazy because everyone just took that as like, yeah, that's just That's just what we do here.
Yeah.
That's just fact.
But it's even still wildly unpopular. They should have
Yeah.
codified it into law,
Yeah.
just like they codified the Voting Rights Act of 1960 into law.
Yeah.
They didn't codify it into law, and that's why we're in the predicament that we're in now.
Yeah.
Like, just because the Constitution says that you have a right to something,
Doesn't mean you actually.
it doesn't mean you actually do. The only thing that does is what rights are protected and enforced by law.
Yeah.
Like, if we look at statistics on public perception towards abortion, the majority of Americans think that women should have some right to an abortion.
Yeah. Yeah. On some level.
At some level.
Yeah.
But
But here
look
we
at
are.
us. Yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah. So I also want to talk about international human rights. Like, I feel like I always see people talking about international human rights violations and how it seems like there's nothing done about them. International human rights has a different story than American constitutional rights because it's mainly shaped by war, decolonization, and the want to articulate a baseline of dignity that governments should not violate that kind of is culturally competent and a basic streamline so that all governments that are a part of it can still participate in and be aligned with. So the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was adopted in 1948, and it frames rights as belonging to everyone without distinction and lists civil, political, economic, social, and cultural rights in 30 articles. It kind of became a moral and interpretive foundation for a later binding agreements called the International Bill of Human Rights. These treaties that are binding on the states that ratify them operate through monitoring and reporting rather than a world police force, which I think is what a lot of people expect out of the UN is a world police force. But the way that they enforce things is because enforcement is really structurally limited. The monitoring bodies can investigate and publicize, and the really only thing they can do is diplomatic condemnation and sanctions. But that's kind of it.
Yeah, let's say they don't really do much.
Yeah.
And I also feel I don't know, from what I've been seeing, I wouldn't say recently, but the past couple of years, United Nations ain't being United Nations.
Yeah.
They just.
What is the United
It just
Nations?
sits there.
It's just a group of people to talk.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
As far as I'm concerned, that's all it is.
Yeah.
That's all they're doing is talking.
Mhm.
So I don't really know what that's about, honestly. I don't know I know what their job is supposed to be.
Yeah.
I just don't really understand how they're supposed to
Do it?
go about doing it.
Yeah.
And then with things that are obviously these are very heightened and have been for the past couple of years, and they just don't really seem like they do what they need to do.
Yeah,
This is the time to step in.
So I thought it was kind of interesting to think about how new rights are made and limited. So in the United States, there's 3 ways to have a new right legally. Use a constitutional amendment, a statute through legislation that Congress can make, or judicial recognition. So the courts can recognize rights as implicit in a constitutional text, just like they did with Roe v. Wade, and that they took away again with the Dobbs decision. So I think it's interesting, can we find more God-given rights? Can we decide later on? Should we find more rights? Yeah.
We should. We need to find more rights.
I'm saying. And then are there rights that we shouldn't have? I think we can think of one right that we shouldn't have.
Give me that right.
We have a history of removing rights from people, right? We took away the right to an abortion. We took away the right for people to own other people's property. Just because something is a right doesn't make it automatically just. They can be constructed within an unjust system. But just because they took a right away from us does also not mean that that's just either.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, these rights, this idea of rights is God-given.
But then there's so much
Yeah.
control, taking away, adding in. By, a select group of people, so.
Facts.
Is it really God-given?
I'm saying.
I don't know.
Well,
All right, y'all.
all right, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.